To football fans, Lionel Messi's era at Barcelona was a golden age of beautiful, historic sport. But to the executives inside the boardroom of FC Barcelona, Messi was a walking, talking macroeconomic ecosystem. While his record-breaking contract famously pushed the club's balance sheet to its absolute limits, internal audits revealed a stunning counter-truth. Messi single-handedly generated nearly 30% of Barcelona's entire club revenue. From filling all 99,000 seats at the Camp Nou to driving global shirt sales and attracting multi-million-dollar sponsorships, his presence turned a football club into a high-yield global enterprise. This is not just the story of a legendary athlete. It is a financial analysis of how one individual held the economic weight of an entire European city. In the winter of 2021, a set of documents surfaced that football fans were never supposed to see. Leaked to a Spanish newspaper, the papers laid bare the terms of Lionel Messi's final contract with FC Barcelona, a 4-year deal signed in 2017 that totaled more than 555 million euros. To put that number in context, it was not just the largest contract in the history of football, it was the largest contract in the history of professional sport, full stop, eclipsing anything ever signed in the NBA, the NFL, or Major League Baseball. The structure of the deal is where the real story lives. Buried inside the headline figure was a base salary that alone made Messi the highest paid player in the world, but the base salary was only the foundation. Layered on top were loyalty bonuses, contract renewal premiums, and what many financial analysts described as retention payments, essentially the club paying Messi not to leave, year after year, simply for staying loyal to the shirt he had worn since he was a teenager. There was also a signing bonus attached to the 2017 renewal loan that exceeded 100 million euros, a figure that stunned auditors who reviewed the documents because it represented more than some entire club spent on their squads in a single season. What makes this contract fascinating from a pure business standpoint is not the size of the number, but what it reveals about how elite sports franchises value irreplaceable talent. Traditional wage structures in football are built around performance metrics, market comparables, and squad budget percentages. Messi's contract broke every one of those models. Barcelona was not paying for a footballer. They were paying to retain sole ownership of a global commercial asset, one whose presence alone shifted broadcasting deals, sponsorship renewals, and merchandising volume in ways no other player on the planet could replicate. When financial journalists ran the numbers, they found that Messi's wages alone consumed a staggering percentage of the club's total revenue, a ratio so far outside normal footballing economics that UEFA's own financial fair play regulators eventually took direct notice. This contract did not just alter Messi's bank account, it rewired the market rate for global superstars across every major league in the world, forcing rival clubs to reconsider what true generational talent was actually worth. Numbers on a wage sheet only tell half the story. The far more revealing figures sit on the other side of the ledger, inside the internal financial audits that Barcelona commissioned to understand exactly what Messi was worth to the club's bottom line. According to those internal assessments, Messi was personally responsible for generating an estimated 230 million euros annually across the club's combined revenue streams, a figure that placed him not just as the best player on the roster, but as the single largest revenue-generating asset in the entire organization, outperforming entire departments of the club's commercial operation combined. This number becomes even more remarkable when you break it down by category. A portion came directly from broadcasting rights. Television networks around the world paid premiums specifically tied to Barcelona matches featuring Messi, because audience data consistently showed viewership spikes whenever he was in the starting 11. Broadcasters in Asia, in the Middle East, and across Latin America built entire marketing campaigns around his presence. And when Barcelona negotiated its domestic and international broadcasting contracts, insiders confirmed that Messi's participation was treated as a built-in variable that directly inflated the value of the deal. Another significant slice came from what the club internally referred to as global brand equity, the intangible value Messi brought simply by being the face of the organization. Tourism boards in Barcelona reported that a measurable percentage of visitors cited Messi and the Camp Nou experience as a primary reason for their trip to the city. Hotels, restaurants, and the broader Catalan tourism economy benefited from what analysts began calling the Messi effect, an economic ripple that extended well beyond the stadium walls and into the city's GDP. When you add up matchday income, broadcasting premiums, sponsorship allocations, and merchandising, the internal audits landed on that now famous 30% figure, meaning nearly a third of everything Barcelona earned as a football club in a given year could be traced back, directly or indirectly, to one man wearing the number 10 shirt. No accounting department in world football had ever had a model of dependency risk quite like it, because losing Messi did not just mean losing a player. It meant losing a meaningful percentage of the club's entire annual income in a single transfer window. If you wanted the clearest, most immediate proof of Messi's financial gravity, you did not need to look at a spreadsheet. You needed to look at the stands. For over a decade, Camp Nou operated at or near full capacity for the vast majority of home fixtures, with attendance regularly brushing against the stadium's near 99,000 seat ceiling. Season ticket waiting lists stretched for years. VIP box holders, the kind of premium clients who pay hundreds of thousands of euros annually for hospitality access, treated their Camp Nou seats as a fixture of both business networking and cultural prestige, and Messi's presence on the pitch was consistently cited by hospitality partners as a primary draw for renewing those contracts. The museum and stadium tour business, often overlooked in these conversations, told an equally telling story. The Camp Nou Museum was for years one of the most visited attractions in the city of Barcelona, drawing tourists who often had no particular interest in football beyond wanting to walk the same grounds where Messi played. Tour operators built entire itineraries around stadium visit timing, hoping to coincide with a glimpse of a training session or a match-day atmosphere. Then came 2021, when financial pressures forced Barcelona to let Messi leave for Paris Saint-Germain on a free transfer. The club braced for a footballing loss, but what followed was a documented commercial collapse that surprised even pessimistic analysts. Season ticket renewal rates dipped in a way the club had not experienced in years. Matchday hospitality packages, once sold out with waiting lists, began to see actual availability for the first time in over a decade. Stadium and museum tour numbers declined sharply enough that the club's own commercial reports flagged a drop as directly correlated with Messi's departure, not simply a byproduct of pandemic-era tourism disruption, which had already been fading by that point. This is what economists call a gate multiplier effect, where a single individual's presence does not just fill seats, it inflates the value of every seat around him, from the cheapest general admission ticket to the most expensive corporate suite. Barcelona had spent over a decade building an entire match-day commercial ecosystem around the assumption that Messi would always be on the team sheet. And when that assumption disappeared, the gap it left behind was not filled by any single replacement. It was simply absorbed as a permanent hole in the club's matchday income. Away from the pitch, an entirely separate financial battle was playing out in boardrooms across the world, one involving some of the largest consumer brands on the planet. Barcelona's major sponsorship deals, spanning kit manufacturers, financial services partners, airlines, and technology companies, were not negotiated in a vacuum. Multiple sponsors, when renewing or expanding their partnerships with the club, explicitly tied contract value and renewal terms to Messi remaining the face of the club's global marketing campaigns. This created what industry insiders began referring to as a sponsor premium, an additional layer of contract value that existed purely because brands understood the marketing reach that came attached to Messi's image. Global companies do not sponsor football clubs purely out of goodwill. They sponsor them because of measurable return on investment, tracked through social media engagement, brand recall studies, and merchandising crossover sales. Messi's individual social media following alone, spanning hundreds of millions of followers across platforms, represented an advertising reach that rivaled entire national television networks, and sponsors factored that reach directly into their contract valuations. When rumors of Messi's potential departure began circulating in the years before his eventual 2021 exit, several of Barcelona's commercial partners reportedly raised concerns internally about the long-term value of their agreements should he leave. Some negotiations for contract renewals were quietly delayed or restructured pending clarity on his future at the club. This gave Messi, whether by design or simply by circumstance, an extraordinary amount of leverage within the club's commercial ecosystem because the club's ability to secure premium sponsorship revenue was, in a very real sense, tethered to his continued presence. What this reveals is a deeper truth about modern sports economics. Sponsorship in the 21st century is no longer just about a logo on a shirt. It is about aligning a global brand with an individual capable of moving markets, shifting consumer sentiment, and driving measurable digital engagement on a scale that traditional advertising simply cannot match. Barcelona, for over a decade, held what was effectively a commercial monopoly on the most valuable individual brand in world football, and every major sponsorship renewal during that era carried that reality quietly embedded in its fine print. Walk into any football specialty store, from Jakarta to Buenos Aires to Lagos, during the peak years of Messi's Barcelona career, and the pattern was unmistakable. Industry estimates at various points suggested that roughly 8 out of every 10 Barcelona shirts sold worldwide carried the number 10 and the name Messi printed across the back. That is not simply a popular player selling well. That is a single individual functioning as the dominant driver of an entire multinational retail category. The logistics behind that statistic are worth unpacking, because they reveal just how deeply the club's commercial infrastructure was built around one player. Kit manufacturing partnerships, retail distribution agreements, and even production forecasting for jersey runs were all calibrated with the expectation that Messi jerseys would represent the overwhelming majority of demand. Retailers placed larger standing orders for number 10 shirts than for any other player on the roster, sometimes by a margin so wide that other first-team players' jerseys were treated almost as a secondary product line. This merchandising dominance extended well beyond the traditional home and away jersey. Licensed apparel, boot deals, video game cover exclusivity, trading cards, and even city tourism merchandise all leaned heavily on Messi's likeness, because retailers understood that his image alone drove conversion rates that no other player, and in many cases no other athlete in any sport, could match. Retail analysts who studied global football merchandising during this period consistently ranked Messi's individual shirt sales among the highest in the history of the sport, occasionally surpassing entire national team merchandising lines combined. When Messi departed for Paris Saint-Germain in 2021, a similar phenomenon repeated itself almost instantly. Reports at the time indicated his new club sold an extraordinary volume of jerseys within the first hours of the announcement, a figure that underscored just how portable his individual commercial power truly was. It was not that Barcelona had built a merchandise machine that happened to feature Messi. It was that Messi himself was a machine, and Barcelona had simply been the fortunate host of that engine for the better part of 2 decades. The summer of 2021 delivered one of the most dramatic financial reckonings in modern football history. Barcelona, unable to fit Messi's proposed new contract within La Liga's strict financial fair play salary cap regulations, was forced to let the greatest player in the club's history leave on a free transfer, receiving no transfer fee whatsoever for a player many considered priceless. The football world was stunned, but the numbers behind the decision told an even more alarming story about the state of the club's finances. Barcelona's total debt at the time was reported to have climbed past 1 billion euros, a staggering figure that had been building for years through a combination of aggressive transfer spending, pandemic-related revenue losses, and wage commitments headlined by Messi's own contract that had grown structurally unsustainable relative to the club's actual income. The club that had once been able to justify €500 million in player compensation suddenly found itself unable to register new signings under league salary rules, a humiliating position for an institution of Barcelona's global stature. In the years that followed, club president Joan Laporta and his board turned to what became publicly known as economic levers, a series of asset sales designed to generate immediate cash and satisfy La Liga's financial controls. Barcelona sold significant future percentages of its domestic broadcasting rights to an investment firm. It sold a substantial stake in its in-house production and licensing arm, Barca Studios, a division built specifically to monetize club content and media in the streaming era. These were not routine transactions. They were the financial equivalent of a household selling off future years of salary today in exchange for cash now, a strategy that generated short-term relief but raised serious long-term questions among financial analysts about the club's sustainability. The uncomfortable truth that emerged from this period was that Barcelona's business model during the Messi era had never fully adjusted to a post-Messi reality. The club had built its revenue projections, its wage structure, and even its long-term commercial contracts around the assumption that its greatest asset will remain in place indefinitely. When that assumption collapsed, the club was left scrambling to restructure an entire financial ecosystem in real time. And the levers, while effective in the short term, represented a mortgaging of the club's future to pay for decisions made during its most commercially dominant and financially reckless decade. Step back from Barcelona specifically, and the Messi story becomes something much larger. It becomes a case study in how modern elite sport has evolved into an economy built around individual, irreplaceable commercial assets. Athletes whose value extends so far beyond their on-field contribution that clubs are forced to treat them less like employees and more like sovereign economic entities operating under a jersey. This model is not unique to football. The same dynamic plays out with global superstars across basketball, tennis, and even Formula One, where a single athlete's presence can single-handedly shift broadcasting valuations, sponsorship negotiations, and city-level tourism economies. But few examples in modern sporting history illustrate the phenomenon as clearly, or as dramatically, as Messi's decade and a half at Barcelona. Here was a club willing to commit over €500 million to a single player, not out of financial recklessness alone, but because internal modeling suggested a return in broadcasting premiums, sponsorship retention, merchandising dominance, and tourism-driven city economics justified the risk right up until the moment the numbers stopped adding up under external regulatory pressure. The broader lesson for modern sports executives is a delicate balancing act. Elite superstar talent generates commercial ecosystems that can transform an entire organization's revenue profile, sometimes single-handedly accounting for a third or more of total club income. But that same concentration of value creates a dependency risk that can destabilize an institution the moment the relationship ends, whether through departure, injury, or retirement. Clubs across Europe have taken note of Barcelona's experience, and many now build succession planning and revenue diversification strategies specifically designed to reduce single-player dependency, even when that player happens to be generationally, historically, irreplaceable. In the end, the story of Messi and Barcelona is not simply a football story. It is a masterclass in the economics of singular talent, a demonstration of how one individual, through sustained excellence and global appeal, can hold the financial weight of an entire institution, and by extension, an entire city's tourism economy, on his shoulders. Whether that model represents a blueprint for future sporting institutions, or a cautionary tale about the dangers of building a business around one irreplaceable person, remains one of the defining financial questions of modern football.